I would like to welcome you to Carbon Insiders Live. Carbon Insiders Live is a new webinar series that's brought to you by One Click LCA. One Click LCA is the world-leading digital platform for lifecycle assessment and environmental product declaration across the construction value chain. So the construction value chain includes, construction products, electrical products, manufactured products, energy suppliers, built environment services. And in Carbon Insiders Live, what we do here is we dive very deep into topics that address how to decarbonize construction and manufacturing. Construction and manufacturing combined contribute to the bulk of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. And today we have a quite hot topic for those of you who are manufacturers, buyers, specifiers. And the topic is how to secure your business for CBAM, or the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, and also the EU Green Deal. So the regulations and targets associated with CBAM, of course, pose challenges, but they actually pose very interesting opportunities for the industry. And we're going to cover all of these today. We do have quite high levels of registration for today's event, and we're expecting a very full house for this live stream. So as we're waiting for people to dial in and join us, I'll just do a bit of housekeeping for all of you. So if you're joining from Livestorm, please go back. April, if you could just please go back in the slides. Thank you. So if you're joining from Livestorm or YouTube or LinkedIn, we're very excited that you have chosen to spend the next hour of your day with us, and we hope you get benefit from today's show. Something important to note is at the end of the show, we are going to host a live Q&A session, or question and answer session, where we are going to answer all of your burning questions related to CBAM. So definitely stick around until the end of the show. And I encourage all of you to drop any questions or comments that you might have in the chat, whether you're on Livestorm or LinkedIn. Oh, great. I see greetings already dialing in. Great. Greetings from Egypt, from the banking sector. Very cool. Very nice to see you. Definitely let us know where you're calling from. Let us know who you are. Let us know what industry you represent. We're excited to connect with all of you today. So I'll introduce myself first. Hello, Yuka from Finland. I'll introduce myself first. I'm Abigail. I'm the host of Carbon Insiders Live. Before joining One Click LCA, I worked in residential cross-laminated timber construction, and before that, open access scientific research. I'm very pleased to be joined today by Panu Pasanen. Panu Pasanen is the CEO and founder of One Click LCA. He is a Finnish sustainable construction expert and software engineer with, I think, 20 years of experience in the field. You'll have to confirm that, Panu. Panu is an advocate for life cycle assessment, life cycle costing, green building systems. And just this week, he won the EY 2023 Tech Award in recognition of his significant contributions to decarbonizing manufacturing and construction. Panu, maybe just take a moment to share a few words about yourself and introduce yourself to all of us.
Yeah, hello everybody. Yeah, so Panu Pasanen, and greetings from London, incidentally as well. So we had a customer event here, and yesterday to meet our customers who work on decarbonization, and part of our mission is, of course, to have more people work on this topic, and hopefully with CBAM, more people will have incentive to do so. And today we're going to be spending a bit of time to talk about how it can work practically and who does it concern. So looking forward to this.
So we have heard quite a lot of people out there who have expressed confusion and concerns related to CBAM. And we know that figuring out how the regulations impact your business can be complicated and potentially costly. And it's the kind of stuff that keeps people awake at night. So we're very lucky to have Panu here because he is a deep subject matter expert, and he can help you figure out what to do to shore up your business for the future. So again, if you have any burning questions, go ahead and drop these in the comments. so we can be sure to get to them in the live Q&A at the end of this session. If we could go ahead and fly over to the next slide. Thank you so much, April. So April is our producer for today's event. She's making it possible for all of us to dial in. We are also joined by Asha Ramachandran. She looks after our sustainable building and infrastructure communications. And we're also joined by Steven Zielstra. He's our community manager, and he really is a true carbon expert across both construction and manufacturing. And Asha and Steven are today helping pipe all of your questions to Panu for the live Q&A, which takes place at the end of the show. So again, go ahead and already start dropping your questions and your comments, anything related to CBAM or the EU Green Deal below. And to help you get started, we actually have a prompt for you. So what is your number one question about CBAM and its impact on your business? So give that a thought and then go ahead and drop that question into the comment section so that Panu can get to it at the end of the show. Next slide, please. Great. So as I mentioned before, One Click LCA is the world's leading digital platform for lifecycle assessment and environmental product declaration across the construction value chain. The construction value chain includes any products manufactured for the industry. So this could be steel and concrete. It could be advanced manufacturing products like, anything from mechanical to electrical to plumbing, anything else. One Click LCA is in use across 150 countries. So that's, truly global coverage of projects and also products. And we have nearly 200,000 LCA data sets and more than 15 BIM integrations. We're used by some of the top firms worldwide. This includes 8 of the 10 biggest global contractors, excluding China, and also 6 of the 10 biggest manufacturers worldwide. And as a note, One Click LCA has been profitable year on year for the past 10 years. So we are definitely a digital platform and business that you can trust, and we are here to stay. Next slide, please. Thank you. We're a team of roughly 170 international carbon experts. We have backgrounds that span engineering, architecture, manufacturing, data, and we love to say that we're the carbon experts, so you don't have to be. And we say that because our digital platform makes lifecycle assessment and environmental product declaration easy, it makes it fast, it's safe, and it's secure for your business. Next slide. Oh, hello from India, Babji. Hello, nice to see you. Yeah. So what you see here is bad. These aren't pleasant images, but these are the kinds of images that, unfortunately, we're seeing in the news every single day. So extreme weather events and natural disasters. And extreme weather events and natural disaster are the impact of climate change, which is caused by human activity. This can include human activity like the burning of fossil fuels. It can include deforestation. It can include the means we need for our society, including agriculture, including construction, and also manufacturing. UN data indicates that the Earth's average temperature is projected to rise by 2.7 to 3 degrees Celsius by the end of the century if we continue on our current path. And so if we do not take action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions like carbon, the impacts of climate change will become ever more severe and irreversible. So if we go to the next slide, we can dig into that a little bit more. April? Thank you. So based on data from the World Green Building Council and the International Energy Agency, and also One Click LCA, industry contributes up to 57% of global carbon emissions across the construction value chain. So we're looking at a gigaton of CO2 per annum for construction process and transport. We're looking at 2 gigatons of CO2 per annum for plastics and other manufacturing, 4 gigatons of CO2 per annum for cement, 5 gigatons of CO2 per annum for metal manufacturing, and 9 gigatons of CO2 per annum for energy use in buildings. yeah, this is the reality. This is kind of the status of what is. But obviously, the status quo has to change. And the world's building and infrastructure stock is expected to double over the next couple of decades, and therefore, all of us in the industry have to act now. And what do we have to do? Let's go to the next slide, April. Thank you. We have to decarbonize construction and manufacturing. This is our mandate. We must decarbonize construction and manufacturing. And everybody that's dialing into this episode of Carbon Insiders Live today can be a change agent here. And it's possible to be a change agent for the future of our planet, while also ensuring the bottom line for your business. This is in large part because decarbonization is influenced by materials and materials purchasing. And we can go to the next slide, April. Yeah, thank you so much. So who influences material purchasing? It's the people like you that are dialing in today. So it's specifiers, buyers, it's manufacturers. It's literally all of you that are contributing to the construction value chain, and also contributing to the carbon emissions associated with the construction value chain. And the subject of today's show is the European Green Deal and CBAM. And the European Green Deal was born to help spur people like you to begin to address the climate crisis through sustainable frameworks, sustainable investment, and sustainable innovation. So the European Green Deal is the EU's big, ambitious plan to become climate neutral by the year 2050. This also includes the goal to reduce carbon emissions by 55% compared to 1990 levels by the year 2030. This is boldly ambitious, and it really aims to transform and improve our economy and also our society. So the European Green Deal is based on 3 pillars, which you can see outlined here. The first is climate neutrality. The second is the clean energy transition. And finally, a healthy circular economy. And the Green Deal includes a wide range of policy initiatives, like investing in renewable energy and reducing carbon emissions, and also protecting biodiversity. And Panu, our deep subject matter expert, is going to take over from here and tell us a bit more about what that means and its implications for business owners.
Thanks a lot, Abigail. So carbon border adjustment mechanism is basically European Commission's answer to the problem that's caused by carbon taxation being used in some economies and not in others, which creates an uneven playing field and which can lead to situations where you import high carbon materials into the European Union just because they are not taxed at the country of production. So it's an adjustment mechanism and it's not a carbon tax. And what that means, maybe I just want to cover that briefly. And it's a pretty clever system too. So everybody who manufactures in Europe under the regulated sectors, which include those shown here and others, is subject to the European Union's emission trading scheme, where carbon price is set by the market, but it's roughly 100 euros per ton of carbon, which is, about the right price in the sense that if worldwide we would have that price, we wouldn't have as big of a climate problem as we have today. And CBAM doesn't tax import at 100, euros per ton of carbon. But what it does is that if your host country, or your manufacturing country doesn't have a similar scheme in place, then you will actually have to pay that, right? But this creates an incentive for countries to actually implement national systems to be able to import to the EU and generate tax revenues locally, and then only pay for the difference if there is one when they are importing to the European Union. And this creates a level playing field, and this makes carbon, actually a cost driver for everybody in these covered industries. And European Union, with this first, version of CBAM, targets 6 sectors, which are all highly in carbon intensive sectors, which are all tradables. So they are, traded across borders, and they are cement. Cement is imported to Europe from places like Turkey, China, others, very high emissions material, iron and steel coming a lot from the same countries I just mentioned as well as others, and aluminium. Obviously, now that UK is out of European Union, UK is importing a lot of things to the European Union and including some of these materials. And then if we go to non-construction materials, then we have also fertilizers, electricity, and hydrogen, which are subject to the same treatment. These are the sectors which are covered by CBAM, and what it does is basically it trues up the cost of carbon to be equivalent to what you would pay if you were manufacturing those products in European Union in the regulated sectors. And it gives a great incentive for businesses actually to decarbonize, and it gives a great incentive for governments to set local carbon market rules as well. Next slide, please. CBAM is a project of the one of the projects of the European Green Deal, and it was announced quite long ago, being very technical and very heavy lifting politically due to customs regulations and many others. It takes some time to build, but now it's been enacted, and the reporting begins with this quarter's data being due for end of January 24 for the concerned activities. At this point, it's only reporting, so you don't have to pay yet for the certificates, for the CBAM certificates. What are the emission certificates, basically? That begins in 26. So there's several years period during which EU collects data. And how this works in practice is that you have a set of rules, how you need to calculate your results, and you need to have actually an accredited third-party verifier to validate your results before it's eligible then for importing. And of course, that's more material at the point when you actually have to pay for every ton. But the system is designed to provide confidence in the fair competition, so that nobody gets unfair advantage from claiming one thing and doing the other thing. CBAM starts with these first sectors, but obviously it's expected to be expanded. That will not be anymore in this commission, so it's going to be part of another commission constituted later. But the goal is to get all of the embodied carbon emissions covered within a decade. So we'll see how it goes. Next slide. Thanks. If you're a European manufacturer, this is actually predominantly great because you're going to have level playing field with non-EU firms, especially if you are one of the manufacturers or one of the types of manufacturers which are concerned here, so aluminium, steel, cement. However, if you are assembly company and you happen to be importing from outside Europe, this is very likely going to increase your raw material costs. So maybe you want to consider, checking your supply strategy again if the non-EU suppliers still continue to be the most competitive. If you are a manufacturer who's importing to Europe, the first thing is, of course, you can't unless you comply. So pretty simple. So you have to align. And that, of course, imposes some complexity and cost for your business. So you'll need to decide how you want to go about it. Obviously, if EU is a big market for you, it's not like you're going to find another one as close, except if you happen to be really far from Europe. But there's also a great upside to this because it's not going to be the last market to set carbon border adjustments or similar. Like Trump wanted to do that already, like in his first term. Hopefully there's not, from personal opinion, hopefully there's not another second term. But these kind of things are going to come up elsewhere too, right? Countries don't like to import high carbon products, just don't, because they want to align with their own climate objectives and not to have carbon leakage, which CBAM fundamentally prevents. And this gives you an incentive to create lower carbon products, all told. And doing so can help you differentiate and unlock new markets within Europe, but also in many other economies. Then if you are a buyer or specifier, you may have higher prices for some products. That can be quite possible. In fact, if you kind of think of it, it's pretty much the same as plugging illegal tax planning. So this is carbon tax, basically truing up the competitive landscape, and you may have to pay a bit more for certain things. What's the upside is that you will get two things. You will get better transparency to the impacts of the products that you actually are importing, but very likely, or if you prepare ahead, you will also get better transparency on who are you actually buying from, because these tax adjustments make it more obvious who are you buying things from, because many of these materials, they are tradables. You don't always know who you get your steel from, because many of the people buy it from the wholesalers and not from the factories. But this kind of changes, they may actually make it more obvious that where the things are coming from, because of the said custom regulations. Next, please. So what can you do, right? I mean, you want to presumably stay in business. So couple of points. I mean, no way going around it. You need to calculate your emissions. You also need to get them third-party verified by accredited body as set out in the regulations. Definitely, you would need to invest in clean technology and processes, because if you don't, you pay for every ton you import. I mean, it's very bad business to do so, because you can also save costs by just improving your operation system and getting compliance. So that's kind of how it goes from manufacturer's point of view. For buyers and specifiers, I would recommend thinking already about commodity traceability today. Don't need to cut out the middlemen, but I would recommend that you try to figure out where your things are coming from, so you don't have jumps, you don't have surprises, and it can also help you with other concerns on regulations such as modern day slavery and other social aspects that you may have in your material supply chain. We also recommend that while you look after your supply chain, start looking at the lower carbon products, because obviously if the products are lower carbon already today, they are less exposed to carbon taxation, they are less exposed to CBAM as well, but also they are less exposed to any future carbon tax increases. And so then you will probably find suppliers who will be staying competitive over a longer period of time, and hopefully you can do better business with them with less price jumps. So CBAM to EPD. So what's the clue here? CBAM requires you to calculate carbon data and get it third-party verified. Well, EPDs do that too, right? EPDs are environmental product declarations, which are defined in ISO and European standards, and they are actually used to communicate your environmental impacts of your products, and they support carbon reductions in the industry, and they help design teams and buyers and specifiers to choose sustainable options for projects. So in a way, there are connections with the data that's included in these EPDs and that are used in the CBAM, but the difference being is that CBAM is a taxation mechanism and EPD is then a way of comparing and choosing products. So if you want to import to the European Union, you don't necessarily want to import product just to get it placed somewhere. You may want to make it desirable, and the way to make it desirable is to show off your green credentials with environmental product declarations. In European Union, we follow EN standards for EPDs, and obviously internationally, many of you also use EN standards, so you can get those same EPDs used across Asia, also increasingly in North America, and everywhere in Middle East, North Africa, and Central Asia regions as well. Next, please. If you are pursuing the path of EPDs, one of the points of EPDs is that you can optimize the impacts of products. When you calculate EPDs for, let's say you make 3 different kinds of steel that you want to import to Europe, you calculate it for each of them, right? If you do the EPDs and if you align with CBAM, you will have a clear understanding of what are your carbon hotspots, how much carbon is coming from each of your products. That will also tell you how much you're going to have to pay, right? So you have a direct financial tax-based, basically, business case to decarbonize. But in addition of that, you have operational costs. So of course, every ton of carbon that you emit comes from fossil fuels or chemical processes. I mean, they are not cheap resources for you. So if you can optimize your carbon emissions with the information coming from EPDs, it can help you to have greener products, and it can allow you to market your products better, to justify people actually to choose them proactively. EPDs are an investment, so it's not a tax compliance, it's not the minimum level you need to do. Benefit of that investment is that it gets you the data that you can use for other purposes, and this is valid for 5 years. If you are importing for commercial construction, especially, mostly all commercial construction in Europe and elsewhere pursues some sort of green building certification, such as LEED, BREEAM, DGNB in France, HQE, other systems in other countries. Mostly all of them recognize environmental product declarations and provide value for the users and buyers out of that data. Then other side of the EU Green Deal, which is not CBAM, is the future of European regulation, which is one of the major forward-looking benefits of EPDs. One of the other projects of the von der Leyen Commission is revision of construction product regulation, and we can expect that in a future point in time, this kind of data is going to be mandatory requirement for products imported to the European Union. Today, it's not mandatory requirement for products made in European Union, but for the carbon border adjustment mechanism, it is mandatory for the tax and customs purposes. Going forward, this is going to be a baseline, but today, what you have is an opportunity to benefit. How can you make business use of EPDs is as follows. So you have a couple of options, a couple of things you can do. Complying with legislation. The first legislation you'll be faced with is the border adjustment mechanism. You cannot import to the European Union if you don't comply. So then you don't have to worry about the EU regulations at all because you're not going to be selling here. Simple as that. But if you get your product to the European European market, there's some additional regulations at national level which pertain mostly on sustainability marketing. So if you want to market a product as being sustainable, for example, in France or in Belgium, to name two, you actually have to have EPD. While the anti-greenwashing directive is not yet in vigor, the anti-greenwashing directive goes further in that direction and requires to substantiate sustainability claims more broadly than just for construction products within the European market. And as we currently anticipate that regulation will be passed, that kind of trend will very likely snowball across Europe. Green building certifications are quite substantial because they are pursued on large commercial projects, and large commercial projects are big buyers of materials at the project level. Of course, residential developers also buy a lot of materials, but the projects individually, they are more scattered. If you are in a product market where you need to target commercial construction like hotels, offices, retail, airport transport, even hospitals in some markets, green building certifications are definitely going to be used. And having those EPDs makes it actually directly beneficial for the specifiers and designers to choose your product over any other that doesn't have comparable credentials. And finally, if you are providing your products or selling your products to investors or funded by to projects funded by investors who have sustainability commitments or to developers who have sustainability commitments. They need data, and they want to see what's the actual data of your products so that they can incorporate that into their own sustainability commitments and carbon disclosure, to be able to actually show whether they are decarbonizing or not, right? Simple as that. European Union, there's no official data about the total number of construction products on the market, but they are in the dozens or in tens of millions, probably not in the hundreds of millions. So it's not like we are short of options in any practical sense. You need to have something which makes people want to choose your product. If you're the lowest cost supplier today, great. It may not be the case anymore if you have to start paying different level of environmental taxes. But of course, from a bottom line point of view, you'll be in a much better place if you actually are able to provide customers value. And if you have something which can help you differentiate, sustainability can be one of those things. Even if your product is not the most sustainable, just being transparent about it already is a thing for customers, because they don't have to guess what are you hiding. They will be able to say, okay, fine, maybe this is not the very best product, but this is within the better half of all the products. So I'm happy with this solution, and maybe we can work with you as a supplier to bring this down further over the coming years, maybe in a framework contract or other arrangement. So this ability of being demonstrate and prove a sustainability is really important. It doesn't have to be, it's not sufficient to just make a general claim that all going well. Industry needs to have facts which are third-party verified and proven. This is even more important if you work on specification sales. So if you are working on products which are not immediately substitutable, so which have higher value add component, it's really important that customers and specifiers and designers have some reason to put it in their specifications. Otherwise, there's always a risk of replacement being selected, and having a product with sustainability certification can be actually that reason, because if you have some similar products with one of them being able to prove sustainability, and they are all okay for all practical purposes, including commercials, security, and other things, why not, right? And lastly, CBAM is one carbon regulation out of so many. There's going to be more. And if you don't pay attention to these things, you can have a business ending in big trouble. So we would recommend considering this as a future-proofing step. It's not the end. This is a starting point, because the industry has to decarbonize continuously. Abigail gave the end date is until 2050. So, but honestly, we need to do that sooner, right? So we need to all get into this journey, and if you don't, there's a very real risk that your profits are going to be wiped out by taxation, because there's going to be more of this, and different kind of carbon pricing mechanisms will impose direct external costs in addition of the internal costs you incur by buying fossil fuels and using materials that have high carbon impacts. And having this data that the EPDs can provide can tell you where your carbon hotspots are. So if you identify that, oh my God, this component of mine, this has very substantial, carbon footprint, you can look proactively for solutions and replacements, or work with that supplier of yours to make it more competitive from carbon perspective. And this also de-risk your supply chain, because obviously if carbon taxes happen on that supply chain part, it's not going to wipe out your profits in the same extent, because you anticipated that you were reducing your exposure. So those are the main business benefits of EPDs, but there's more about this topic just shared in the chat. So go and click through one of the links if you want to find out more about the business benefit of EPDs. Next. and I think over to Abigail if I remember correctly.
No, Panu, this is all you. And April, you can please go to the next slide. Thank you.
Right. Very good. So then how can we help, really? So One Click LCA is providing AEC and construction LCA and EPD software. Yeah. And what's the point is, of course, compliance as a cost. We want to make that cost as low as possible for you and also reduce the time that you need to spend on it without compromising anything in terms of quality. So we need to really scale the amount of sustainability data we now have in our industry, and being able to automate as much of that is really critical. The classical way to get an EPD works roughly like this. You're a manufacturer, so you probably need to get some learning about how to do EPDs. One of the ways you can do that is our One Click LCA Academy. We have free boot camps and free classes. Maybe Asha or somebody can drop a note about the EPD boot camps here in the chat. So once you learn what you need to do, you can go off and find some data. Then you need to engage some consultant. Hopefully you find a consultant who has time to do your EPDs for you. And they will do you some calculations. They will send you back to collect more data, and then they write a background report. And once you have the LCA report and background report and all of that done, which can take, 9 months, 1 year, depending, can be shorter too, you need to engage a third-party verifier. So here's an interesting thing. Third-party verification is not the most profitable form of business you can find. So they don't usually have the best reactivity for this kind of things. So it can take you quite a while to get a third-party verifier for some EPD programs to undertake your work. And finally, once they have signed it off, you need to submit it to a program operator who publishes the EPDs. And the worst comes here, because if the program operator changes the rules in the meantime, you have to start again. And that actually can happen in life. And then you're like not even within the first year of your project being started, having completed it. So there's kind of a time problem, there's resource problem, there's coordination problem. If you're a manufacturer, you probably have other things to do than herd cats and LCA people. I mean, you probably want to improve your products and improve your business and that kind of thing. And you want to know what's coming out of it at the end, right? I mean, the problem here is that you have so many different actors that you can actually get changes in the process, and that can be quite destructive for your outcomes. So how we want to streamline that? There's no going around that you as a manufacturer, you are responsible for getting the data in place. That's necessary for to be done by you, because, well, I mean, nobody can access your confidential information other than you. And what we put together is an onboarding, training, support, and software and automation offering, which help you to deal with all of the rest. So we don't do all of it in-house, but we have full automation in place to upload your data into an EPD program, where it goes to, third-party verification and so on. And you actually don't have to talk to anyone else except if verifier sent you some things to fix. But even then, you don't need to talk to them. You just need to do the fixes, right? And we're going to be there and answering your questions. And maybe this time it's over to you, Abigail, but you'll tell me otherwise next, if not.
I am telling you otherwise, Panu.
Very good. Very good. All right, great. So the product in question here is our EPD generator. We have a few variants of it. So we have one for concrete, we have one for luminaires, and then we have one for generic materials. So anything you actually make in the construction infrastructure, etc. space. And this tool complies with ISO standards, it complies with EN standards, and it can be used for any construction products. It can be used for any other manufactured products which are in relevant sphere, so mechanical, electrical, plumbing, furniture, infrastructure, capital goods used in capital projects, and that kind of thing. The tool also supports using the data for demand generation through One Click LCA, where we actually publish the data for designs, publish the data for designers to choose it when they are working on the AEC. And we make the data collection process easy for you. And obviously, we don't assume that you will know everything about this topic. So we do a support service, and we also provide comprehensive database, which allows you to choose and use the data that you actually need for these purposes. So that's it really in short, but there's more about it on the website, so if you want to check it out.
Great, thank you, Panu. Yeah, so once you have your EPDs, from a marketing perspective, it's important to market your EPDs. EPDs are a clear signal to the market, and they can help you distinguish your business from your competitors. And there are a couple of things that we recommend that you do in order to broadcast the news of your EPDs. The first and most obvious is actually to be part of the One Click LCA database. And in this way, you can get discovered by specifiers in the One Click LCA ecosystem. This is very good for your business. And next, you can take your EPDs and proudly plant them on your website. We recommend that you promote your EPDs on your homepage of your website above the fold. So before people even have to start scrolling, you need to showcase your EPDs to differentiate yourself from your competitors. You can also, host these on your social channels. You can promote them via your email channels. Importantly, you also need to brand all of your sales collateral with your EPDs, and work with your sales team, train your sales team to talk about EPDs, because in this way you are really showcasing your sustainability edge, and this is a way for you to win more business. So EPDs are great marketing. They're great marketing vehicles, and we strongly encourage you to showcase these very broadly. Next slide, please, April. Great. So if you feel like One Click LCA's EPD generator sounds like a possible solution for your business needs in light of CBAM and the EU Green Deal, we would love to let you know that our business development team can provide a free demo to show you how the EPD generator works in action. So Asha and Stephen, our two moderators today, are now going to trigger a poll in the Livestorm environment. So if you are dialing in from the Livestorm environment, you will see a poll that's activated. And the poll asks if you would like our business development team to contact you to book a free demo and learn how the EPD generator works. If you would like to book a demo with our business development team, all you have to do is just click yes. You have the option to click yes and just click. And we have a team, like I mentioned in the beginning of this show, a team of 170 international carbon experts. And they, like Panu, are deep subject matter experts that can help explain more about the EU Green Deal, more about the CBAM, also its impacts on your business, and also what you need to do. What are like the very practical and actionable steps that you need to take? We realize that navigating new regulation can be quite tricky to do without support. So our expert consulting team can be there to help guide you. And again, if you would like our business development team to provide a free demo to show you how the EPD generator works, just click yes in the poll. And I'm very excited about the next component of the show. This is our live Q&A or question and answer session. So we have word that there are a lot of questions, actually burning questions from a lot of you around the world. So let's go ahead and get started. So Imogen Woodhead asks you, Panu, what specific declarations need to be made and who is responsible for making them in the context of CBAM? That's a great question.
Yeah, so the technical attachment of the CBAM regulation as an annex, which iterates everything that you need to tell. I'm not going to. Well, I'm first of all, there's more than a couple of things, so it's few pages long, so quite a bit of stuff. So there's basically a template what you need to answer to, and basically this is a tax system. So this befalls on the persons who want to bring it to the market. So it's more like customs clearing level topic because there's tax duties. Obviously, the taxes are not levied today because we are in the reporting phase, but it's done at the basically customs level in practical sense.
Thank you, Panu. So the next question is from Paul Gilbert, and Paul asks, when will CBAM extend its coverage beyond the most energy-intensive products it currently includes and start applying to a broader range of products?
Good question, right? I mean, we know that the law is in place for these 6 categories to go live on 1st of January 26. So that will happen no matter what, really. And then the aspiration of the Commission is that by 34, all products would be covered. Okay, so how do we get there? We don't know. We don't also know what is the new Commission and who's the new commissar for these topics. But reasonably speaking, because the carbon leakage is a real thing, I would think it quite plausible that there will be doubling, tripling, quadrupling of the categories covered within this decade still. But that's just my sentiment on the matter. Depends very much, of course, on the politics involved. But from the politics involved point of view, of course, CBAM is great because it actually doesn't hurt anyone. I mean, the government in the country where it's made is free to tax them and keep the proceeds from. It's just the adjustment mechanism that is applied. EU doesn't even impose a border tax in the real sense.
All right, thank you, Moses Tan, for your question. Moses asks Panu, how does CBAM address the issue of manipulating or tampering with the calculations of product carbon footprints? Wow, very nice.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a burning question, right? I mean, tax avoidance. So accredited bodies. I mean, you're nobody. It's not just like that you turn up and say, "I'll sign it off because I'm a good guy," right? I mean, accredited bodies are authorized to verify this, and there are certain rules on which accredited bodies are authorized to verify this. So, I mean, it's indeed a very serious matter. So, not your best friend, not your cousin, and not even the most famous expert, but like organizations whose profession and whose have a system around independent accredited verification are the only ones who are able to do that.
Okay, Jasper Hernandez, what are the potential economic and trade implications of CBAM for both European and non-European countries? Thank you, Jasper.
Well, I mean, number of them, obviously. So, investments in decarbonization should increase. This makes it more sensible for non-European governments to implement emissions trading or carbon tax systems because they presumably want to keep the revenue locally and not to pay to the EU at the border. So very desirable things. Very likely it also reduces trade. So if EU is a super small slice of your market, I mean you don't necessarily need to import to EU. If it's like few percent of the total market you have, you can probably find an alternative market, unless it happens that the other alternative markets also want to have sustainable products, and in that case you'll have to do it for everyone anyway. So better just get on board with it. So that would be the short version. But I think this kind of carbon tax matter will crop up more or less everywhere, just with different levels. Like Indonesia is working on similar thing, and they are like extremely far from the European level of GDP per capita.
Great. Saul Rubens, starting in January 2026, when are we required to procure CBAM certificates? Can you clarify the duration of their validity, as the wording in the regulation is somewhat unclear?
Extremely technical question. So I actually don't know. That's like a tax legal question, but from a common sense point of view, it would probably be in the calendar year, because they have to be surrendered for the import, and the systems are trued up per year. So that's my assumption of it. But you know, ask the customs guys. Actually, I mean, I can't ascertain that that answer is 100% correct.
All right. Sumia Lepic, I hope I got your name right. Regarding the EU's CBAM existence and all requirements, how huge is the impact of non-EU countries' ETS? I don't know what ETS means, Panu, so maybe others out there don't either, and you could clarify.
Emission trading scheme. So yeah, I mean, this question can be understood in two ways. So I will take a shot at both. So if you have an emission trading scheme where the emissions don't cost much anything, it's pretty immaterial, because then you have to pay the difference at the border. But the upside of it is because, I mean, let's say you're a UK government. I mean, assuming they can hold the government down for a few days or months or years. I mean, they probably would like to collect that revenue internally. I mean, governments don't necessarily want their people to import things elsewhere and pay taxes elsewhere if they can get it locally. So this gives an incentive for geographies which trade a lot with Europe to actually level up their local tax systems, tax or emission trading systems, so they reach parity or at least more close alignment with the European level of ETS credits.
Lucas Anderson asks, will CBAM also cover finished products consisting of, for instance, steel, or is it only the raw material steel and semi-finished products?
You have to look at the customs code list. So there's a customs code list which exists for these things which are covered. So if you're, for example, importing to the European Union, let's say faucets or chairs which are steel, no, they are not like going to be covered by that, but it's going to be on a customs code basis. And if you're importing to the EU anyway, you probably have some kind of customs to pay. So it's going to be the same customs category.
Laurent Porot asks, are EPDs harmonized across different sectors/regions, or will each country have their own PCR? And if you could define PCR, please.
Product category rules, which are like detailed rules on how to make EPDs. Very good question. So there is fragmentation. National fragmentation. National fragmentation is non-value adding. It's bad, like in every practical sense. It's creating further trade barriers. The upside of it is that most of the national fragmentation is pointless. Like it's not actually required. It's just a by convention that national program operators have cropped up. There are a few exceptions, but on the main, the fragmentation is more based on wanting to differentiate type of thing rather than actual substantive differentiation. So you can actually get by with one EPD very, very far, and very specifically with One Click LCA we can support not literally every single EU PCR/national requirement, but with very small exceptions, all the major ones.
Great. So I think that is it for the questions today. Thank you so much, Panu, for sharing your expertise. And thank you so much to everybody that joined us in the audience today. It's been great to have a conversation with you and learn more together. If you would like to contact us, you are welcome to write sales@oneclicklca.com. You can write us directly, or you can visit our website, oneclicklca.com. Asha and also, Stephen have, I think, dropped some links to various resources related to EPDs or environmental product declarations in LinkedIn and also Livestorm. So you're welcome to check out those resources there. And we have a very active community on LinkedIn. I will say there are over 30,000 people across the construction value chain that are engaged in a very vibrant community. So I definitely encourage you to find us on LinkedIn. And we have a new YouTube channel where Panu and other subject matters and carbon experts from One Click LCA are sharing all kinds of guides and tutorials and overviews and deep dives and some very, very interesting resources to help you on your decarbonization journey across construction and manufacturing. So do check out all of these resources available to you for free. And I can also plug Academy here. Academy is a free training on demand and also live bootcamp training where you can actually become certified as a low carbon specialist yourself. And we, are very happy to support you in this journey. So thank you for the time and have a lovely day. And we look forward to connecting with you again in the future. Thank you.
Thanks.